the southern sun. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I belong. My great-granddaddy was Wiradjuri. My father came here from the Philippines. It's where I live, it's where I wanna be. Ooh, but you make me feel so ill at ease. I don't speak my father's native tongue. I was born under the southern sun. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I belong. It's easy enough for you to say it ain't no thing, but I'm the one, you ain't the one. Been living in this skin. If you wanna call me something, call it to my face. But I will not apologize for taking up this space. Every time you cut me down, I'm gonna come back fierce. The time is through for being nice. Let's call it what it is. Father's native tongue. I was born under southern sun. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I belong. I don't speak my father's native tongue. I was born under the southern sun. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I belong.
Oh, what an intro. I haven't seen that clip in some time. And it's epic. It won a bucket loads of awards. It was, I think, a little bit of a statement, listening to some of those words properly for the first time, hearing some of those. But we've got, I'm really interested to talk about some of the things about MoJu. She is our guest, our First Nations guest as part of NAIDOC week, and yeah, we've got a few comments going a bit nutso in the chat room because there might be a few people that's the first time they've seen the clip to that track. You may have heard it on radio, but the good thing about being visual is you can you can watch the clip too, and not always the clip matches the song, but wow. And I'm going to get out of the way and introduce my next guest, MoJu. Hi.
Hi. I haven't seen that video for a minute either.
I saw you. I was playing it. I saw you actually kind of looking at it and like being an audience member for a split second. Good morning.
Actually, I was impressed.
Impressed with what? My technical skills?
I was impressed with my video, man.
It's super impressive.
No, it's actually really weird, right? Because you can never hear a song or see a video or anything like that. Anything you create, it's just impossible to hear it or view it like someone else. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird to revisit something like years after, because I don't go back and watch it. Like, it's not something I sit down and do for enjoyment. It's sort of like something I've done, and then, you know, I'm busy doing the next thing or whatever. To see that, it's like, okay, I think I kind of understand maybe what everybody was excited about.
yeah.
It's sort of hard to know, but it's like, you know, because you're always so critical of yourself or whatever. But I was like, no, it's actually, you know, watching the Juki Mala dancers, who are, you know, they're so incredible, and they really made that video. And I mean, Claudio, who directed it, and all of that. I was very lucky to have such an incredible team.
Why did you go that direction with that song? It's probably, is it and this is what we're talking about, because I'm going to ask some questions. Is it the first time that you really expressed your cultural connection in a visual? Is that the first film clip you've done, or have you done many film clips before?
Look, I was never a big fan of doing film clips. Hey, I'm not very patient that way. I've done it, like I've done a couple, but no, nothing that I'd, and you know, like I've spoken about culture, in my songs, like here and there, but I don't know.
Sorry,
did I just disappear for you?
Yeah. Where'd you go? Where are you?
I'm in the green room, man. No.
Hang on. I'm trying to do. There you go. You should be back in a minute. What is going on here? Why did that disappear? MoJu, where are you? Hang on.
Yeah.
What happened?
It says my video is still going, but
yeah, no, it is. I've got this kind of broadcasting software there. Window grab, bang, zoom aiding, 2 seconds. It will work.
No, I mean,
and there you are.
I'm not sure if anyone really wants to see my mug at 7:45.
I'll see the mug in your hand. It's a mug.
That's my little boy. That was my Father's Day gift.
In a Jordan jumper?
Yeah. Flipping the bird.
Sorry for that little interruption there. Yeah.
No, so it was actually, you know, that song, the writing of the song was born out of frustration. Obviously, because you can hear that in the lyrics.
Oh.
But and I just felt like, maybe I need to like just be a little more unapologetic. And then so I performed that song live.
Don't we all?
It just happened, like I'd performed it live before it was released, and it just so happened that the Juki Mala guys were at the show, and Claudio, who directed the video, was also at the show, and then we were all backstage together after my set, and they'd already been talking when I came off stage, and Claudio was like, so we're going to make a video and these guys are going to dance. And I was like, that sounds sick.
Did you know who Juki Mala were already?
Yeah. I've been a long time fan. So that was kind of, you know, I wasn't going to say no to that. That was pretty exciting. So it was actually their idea.
And okay, so you knew who Juki Mala were, and also you trust in Claudia as well. She's an epic director for the things that she touches.
She's directed a lot of great Australian music videos. So like Thelma Plum, Kate, like, you know, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me. I was like, you're coming to me with an idea for my music video, and you're going to make it happen. Or I'll turn up. This is great. I mean, there was a little bit more to it than that, but you know, it really was like they didn't give me much of an option because they're pretty awesome, and you know, I would have been a fool to say no. So.
It's like me yesterday, just grabbing you when just.
Well, that's
in your natural
right.
state.
I would have been a fool to say no.
No, not that part, but just cornering you, going, "Hey, by the way, this is happening. Did you know that this is you going on radio tomorrow morning?"
Have I ever said no to you? Have I ever said? That's the thing, right?
No, you haven't. Oh,
yeah.
No, you haven't. You haven't.
Yeah.
You've said not. Yeah, you have, but it was like it's not like you couldn't do it. You actually couldn't do it. You were either touring or something. So it was a genuine. No, you haven't. Good call. Thanks for that. Thanks for reminding me that I should be expecting higher things. What's the landscape like? Why are you making such a bold statement at that point in your life? This is 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I should look this up.
You know, I guess, like, sort of my story is, you know, I started out, this is going to be very, very telling of my age now, because I have good genes, so my age is quite ambiguous. I don't know if that holds up at 7 in the morning or whatever.
No, you're glowing. There's suppleness.
So I kind of started out playing gigs around Melbourne, like, early 2000s, and at the time, I guess, I was writing really political music, and I was very, like, heavily influenced by stuff like Lauryn Hill and you know, I don't know what else was I listening to, like Michael Franti and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember people from within the music industry sort of saying to me, like, you're alienating people by talking about this stuff. You know, like, and also there were groups around, like Titters, and, you know, that I grew up listening to, that I loved. And, you know, like, some of my first shows was supporting Jimmy Little and Sally Dasty and people like this. So I thought, you know, this is what I was inspired by. And I was writing songs about my experience, and there was, like, obviously a political element of that. So, and I was doing this, and then people within the music industry were saying, look, you know, you're alienating the audience by writing music that's too political. No one wants to hear that. And also these genres like R&B and soul and stuff, it's not Australian music. Like, no one wants to, you know, that doesn't translate in this country, in this climate, you know. And I was like, you know, I took it to heart, because I was like, you know, like 18 or whatever, and I really wanted to have a career in the industry. And I just took it all a little bit too much on board, and then I went down many different paths, and I spent quite a long time, like, figuring stuff out and just trying to do anything and everything. I love music, so I always have this struggle with, like, being inspired by too many things at once, not knowing exactly what I want to do, and that's still true to this day. But anyway, so I guess I stopped being so political for a minute. And I think, you know, that, I mean, I can say that, but actually I'm just, everything about me and how I move through the world is intrinsically political. So you can't remove
I don't think anything
politics from that.
Yeah. You can't remove it for anyone Indigenous. I don't like.
And I also strongly believe that, you know, that as First Nations people, or as, you know, because I'm not only First Nations, but I'm also, like, the daughter of an immigrant from a developing country. Like, you know, like, my dad tried to come here several times and was rejected because of white Australia policy, like, prior to the 80s. So there's that whole history as well.
That's whack. I've never.
And it's like, and it gives you an interesting and, like, you know, I'd say unique, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually quite common perspective about, you know, politics in the country, and, like, and also being queer. It kind of, and very visibly queer. I think people they politicize you, whether or not you feeling like you're being political or not. Anyway, so I guess I went through all this stuff, and I was trying to, like, I just wanted to make music. I didn't want it to have to be about this, and, like, didn't necessarily, like, want to feel angry or whatever. And I did all these things, and then eventually I sort of realized that, yeah, people are like, they think that about you anyway. And I had this editor of a music magazine here. He said to me one time, he's like, you know, it was right before I wrote Native Tongue. He said, I'm surprised you've been as successful as you've been. And I said, what? He said, I like what you do, but, you know, I'm surprised you've been successful. And I was like, why do you say that? And he said, well, because you're a queer woman of color, and that's very confronting. And so then I just kind of went, well, like, stuff you. I'm just gonna I might as well address this stuff. Like I was just kind of fed up, and so it came from this place of frustration, but also at the same time, I was watching my grandparents kind of getting older, and not doing so well, and they were I'm very close with them, and they mean a lot to me. We lived with them a lot when I was a kid, and so I wanted to tell their stories, and there's like, I guess for me that was about a journey of like really exploring my family history, and in a way, I guess you can't sort of separate that from a lot of trauma, and so I wrote a whole album that was sort of about that, and it, in a way, Native Tongue is like the kind of centerpiece of that, because it's about my own grief around a loss of language and a loss of, or a disconnect from culture, and like stepping into that proudly and reclaiming it for myself. And I think, it was just this really pivotal moment for me, and I was like, I think I just want to I don't really care if it's commercially successful. I don't really care if the industry likes it, or I don't care who listens. I'm making this for myself. And ironically, it's the thing that everybody got on board with the most. So it's like, I guess that's a lesson to be learned. Hey, just be authentic to yourself. I mean, not that I was inauthentic, but it was like, I was avoiding certain things about myself because I guess I didn't want to deal with those things publicly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You talk about probably stuff that everyone can relate to in a very general sense, very general, as in, and I mean this in getting clipped. Like someone's around there trying to clip you. Like, don't do things too much, or don't be too much yourself. Don't be too much. Like, fit in. Like, it's like when you're making a clip and you press sound equalizing. It's like the world does that a lot. Like anyone that's kind of gone a little bit too out of the normal frequency, there's a big barrage of sounds and voices and people going, get back in, get back down. But I love it when, and it's a credit to you that you choose to go, I'm not listening. And it doesn't happen. We need it. Like, and I think that's why so many people responded to that. Not just what you said, but the way you said it, and you said it before, a little less unapologetic, or a little bit more unapologetic.
Yeah.
It would have been a very difficult thing. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, I guess, and I know you've talked about this so much, and people could research this if they wanted to.
You're really reminding me of my therapist right now.
Tell me a little bit about you. Well, don't. I guess, what was it like being brought up? You're a small country town person.
Yeah, I grew up in Dubbo.
Dubbo, Filipino, Indigenous mix, queer in Dubbo.
Yeah, it was like, I didn't have the most fun all the time, but it was like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I've got rose-colored glasses now.
Nice.
I've sort of more recently, just been like, you get that longing to get back on country and and be out there, but also I spent a long time wanting to be as far away as possible because I just didn't, I didn't fit in. The place has changed a lot now, and I've also changed. I've kind of grown into myself a little bit. It was a lot, and I often felt like an outsider. Like I didn't feel like I fit in with mob because I wasn't black enough in my mind. And then there wasn't really a huge Filipino community, and I kind of and the small Filipino community that was there, we'd have to go to these gatherings, right? And it'd be like karaoke and big food spreads or whatever, and then the parents would all make the kids like do a performance. To be like, oh, you play guitar, you sing a song. but it's got to be a nice one. And then, you know, like, and it was just like, I was just like, oh, it's a bit dorky. The food's good, but it's a bit dorky for me and whatever. And now I'm like, I love that. Oh my God, I love that. I wish I had that now. I'm definitely going to make my kid go to things like
drag them along when they're screaming.
Yeah,
and go,
yeah.
don't. Uncles and aunties are so boring. Like, just do it. Trust me, do it.
But, you know, actually really grateful for the, you know, I guess the cultural foundations that you pick up a lot. You know, being around community, and I think that's really important. And I didn't necessarily always have community, you know, like also being queer, that just added like a whole layer of complexity to those interactions with like elders and stuff. And I don't know, it was challenging, but I think ultimately, like, you know, like you got to look at that stuff and go, well, it's made me who I am, and it's given me insight into all sorts of things and empathy for other people's, you know, challenges. And I don't know.
Yeah. Multicultural people, which we all kind of are somewhere down the line if you go back long enough, but having two typically brown skin cultures, how do you have a trouble merging and being one person, or do you dabble, like, is Australia more interested in your Indigenous side than your Filipino side?
100%. And actually, it's really interesting that you asked that. I'm glad you asked that because, yeah, like, you know, you do, when you have all these different, like, facets to your identity, and sometimes, like, it's really hard to reconcile, you know, different parts of yourself or whatever. And it's taken me forever to, like, just be really comfortable with claiming all of it, you know, like really embracing it and being like, well, no, I'm actually all of those things. I'm not less of any of it because, you know, because people want to tell you that you're not. They want to tell you that you're less of something. You're not really black. You're not really Filipino.
That's why I hate the half-half comments, and I and much respect to the people that do say half-half very flippantly, but I hate the half-halves, and I'm quarter this and quarter this. It's like,
no, it's like I'm all of it.
You're a full pizza. You're full pizza Filipino. You're full pizza Aboriginal. It's full, not diluted. Yeah. But everyone's trying to.
I mean, like, to be honest, like, and you know, like, I've also got some whitey in the mix as well. Oh, yeah. But I struggle to, and you know, that's the thing too. It's like I have to reconcile that. You know, I have to make peace with the whitey in me because I don't know. It's hard to connect with something that's always othered you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to say, well, you know, there's part of me that's white too, but when I've always been like, well, you're not, you know, no, you're not, or like, where are you from, or like all of that. So, I mean, there is that, and you've kind of got to make peace with that too. And it's so
is it tiring? Do you find it tiring?
But it's also like, you know, when you step into it and you embrace it, and I know who I am, and anyone, you know, you can challenge that all you like, but at the end of the day, I know who I am. And and nothing can touch that. And it's like, I think there's something really amazing in when you finally reach that place. It's like, I'm kind of at peace with myself or whatever. But yeah, I find like the media and stuff, they've always, like, it's really interesting because they just really want to, they'll take anything out of context and they'll frame it around this whole Indigenous identity. And often I'm like, yes, of course, I fully embrace that, and I would never deny it. But I'm also like, I'm not necessarily the most equipped or the most appropriate person to be that representative.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to, like, well, there's, like, you know, there's enough. Okay, I've said my bit, thank you, and now, like, let's share the mic with this person over here because I think that they've actually got more cultural knowledge than I do, or they've got a perspective that is more informed than mine or something. And so, trying to make space. And I think that's the good thing, is like when you have opportunities, then you're able to make space for other Indigenous voices. And I think that's sort of where I've landed at now. I'm like, okay, I'd love to talk about my Filipino culture, because it's something that I'm super proud of. And it's also something that I feel probably often more times like even more comfortable and confident in speaking about.
Is it less traumatic, the Filipino side?
I mean, slightly. Yes. Well, because my mum's mixed race, because my mum's Indigenous and also like half white, or like half, there we go. That's me saying it. But like she's mixed, like, and whereas my dad's Filipino, so there's less like hesitation around it. For me, it's just like, my dad's Filipino, and I know his culture, and I've been around his family and all of that. Whereas with my mum, it's like, because she's mixed race, like, there's some gaps in cultural knowledge, and there's like trauma throughout the history of that side of the family, of like knowing culture and all of the racism and stuff that would happen in previous generations around being mixed race. They had some pretty ugly words for it.
Yeah. Your music is super hard to categorize, which I love, because then you gotta it unsettles, it makes you restless. Like, well, give me a listen, and I think it actually makes people listen to it going, it's kind of nothing that really sticks out. But then you end up kind of listening to a few songs, you're like, I'm into it. I'm into it.
Yeah.
What do you?
Look, I think this is the thing. Like, I have always tried to exist outside of genres, because I'm not. I've never been one to just like listen to only one genre of music. Yeah, and I know there are people out there that do that, but I can't do that. And so I'm always like, there's always a million one, references or, things that I love that have informed how I do things. But like at the end of the day, the artists that I love the most are the ones that, someone like Prince or whatever, who just, you can't put him in a box. He just is. And he, I'm not comparing myself to Prince, but I'm saying that, like, I aspire to be someone that people go, oh, that sounds like MoJu. Not that sounds like, that's like that's a soul record or whatever. It's like one day there's like people out there, it's like, oh, that sounds like MoJu. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't want to be boxed in. I just want to be creative, and I want to be able to grow, and I want to be able to change as I get older, and explore new ideas and challenge myself creatively, because otherwise I get bored.
You can't see the chat line, but there's some comments coming through. Way Deadly, that song is heaps better live, as in with the film clip, gave me goosebumps. I saw the Jukimali dancers in Geelong. To be Aboriginal Australian necessarily means that your life is a political one. So good to hear the stories behind the song. I relate so much to native tongue. This is different comments, by the way, not someone just blabbing for 5 minutes. Oh, there's a question. With who would you like to work with? And that's a good little segue there, Adam. You went over to, did you take the trip over to New York? For Song Hubs? Yeah.
I did go. I actually did go to New York last year. And it's really funny. I actually ended up on stage with AB Originals.
In New York?
In New York. Like the birthplace of hip-hop. Yeah. With AB Originals. On the summer stage or whatever it is in Central Park. Right. Like thousands of people singing. We did a few songs, but I remember one of them was their version of Dumb Things.
Yeah,
the Paul Kelly
cool.
song. And I was just like, because literally I showed up in New York the night before and I got a phone call from a friend who said, hey, I'm about to have dinner with Briggs. Do you want to come? And I was like, oh, what? I didn't know they were in town. Yeah, cool. So I ended up in this bar in Brooklyn.
Fun.
Briggs and Charles, and had dinner with those guys. And then I got home to my hotel and I got a text from Briggs at like 1 a.m. going, oh, by the way, do you want to sing with us tomorrow? Here's the songs. Can you learn them? I'll see you then. And I was just like, wow, I didn't expect to be doing that. But
because you're there to write.
I was there. Yeah, I did a week of songwriting camps with like a whole bunch of different people. But yeah, that was like my first day in New York, and I was like, wow, this couldn't be like, I couldn't be prouder of this situation. That's cool.
How do the Americans take a song like Dumb Things? And I mean, the great thing about Briggs' rapping that I love is that you can hear the words, and both of you are lyrically really pronounced. So I reckon, what was the Brooklyn crowd? They would have been jumping around. I'm assuming because they love being involved.
Well, people seemed to be really into it. Yeah, people were into it.
Do they engage afterwards and go, righto? What are you?
No one says righto. That's
right. No,
righto.
Righto. They don't say righto.
Yeah, definitely. I did have people like hitting me up afterwards, and people were like keen. Yeah. But for me, I was just on a high, and I was just there with them, and it was just like, I don't know, because it was like such an amazing lineup that day too, with like TK Maidser and I think Wax and San Francisco. There was like a bunch of Australian bands playing, so it was kind of fun to be around all these people that Teskey Brothers were there. It was like all this like
Australia overseas. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I get the gist.
It was really it was good.
Tell us about your new track. You teamed up with Joel.
Oh well, I did. I dropped a little EP at the end of last year with Joel Listics, who produced Native Tongue, the song, and we kind of, it was like more of a collaborative thing than me just sort of going, hey, I wrote this song, can you like help me produce it or whatever. This was like us in the studio writing songs from the ground up, and so we released it as a collaboration. It's called Ghost Town, and it was really I think it was really nice to do, like just to kind of be outside myself a little bit and kind of go, oh, okay, so this is like not just about me or what I want to say. It's to collaborate, which like in a really true sense. And I think
had you done that before?
I mean, I've collaborated in all sorts of ways, but not so much where I sort of step aside as like being like the driver of the project, where it's like, this is my project and I'm the front person and this is all about me. Whereas with Joel, it was like really like we're sharing this equally. Yeah. And it was like, that was really nice
he's amazing. Give us a song. I'm going to play a song before we head off while I fade you out at some stage in the next few minutes.
I mean, we can play something off Ghost Town. We can play something that I wrote in New York if you want.
Yeah, what? What do you give us the track and a little bit of a story while I load it up.
Okay, well,
usually hey, look, you've been on radio before, you know the deal.
I just put out a single, actually the most recent single that I put out.
Put It On Hold? Yeah, tell us about it.
And I wrote that when I was in New York that week. It was like the last thing so the first thing I did when I got to New York was play a show with AB Originals. The last thing I did was write this song with a girl named Brux, who is like a techno, like electronica artist from Sydney. And it was produced by a guy named Clams Casino, who has produced for like Vince Staples, ASAP Rocky,
yeah,
Twigs, like crazy. So I was a bit like, wow, I feel a bit out of my depth in the studio with someone like such a heavy hitter, but it was great for me. It was like another challenge, you know. It's sort of like you can't be shy in a room like that. You've only got one day to write a song. So this was done in like 4 hours, this song, which is the fastest I've ever written and worked on a tune.
And does that come down to the chemistry between you both?
It comes down to you're
just into the same thing. You're writing.
There was 3 of us in the room. It was me, Brux, and Clams, and we got one of the guys from San Francisco came in and just dropped in for like 5 minutes, played a bit of guitar, and then a girl named Veta Bourne, who's a Filipino artist from Melbourne. She played bass on it. Just called her up and she like sent her the song. She played bass, sent it back. So she wasn't in the room with us, but it really, I don't know, just came together real quick and it was super fun. And it's just a pop song, you know. It's like not that deep, but it was kind of nice to do something. It's sort of like, it was just like a bit of a palate cleanser. It was like, cool. I've just spent like the last 2 years talking about all this really heavy material. And now I just get to write a pop song and have a little bit of fun. And
explain that so well. A palate cleanser from It's so interesting to use that word with making music.
Yeah, well, it's just like, you know, and you know, the next thing's gonna be heavy, man. It's gonna be like, I got a lot of shit to say. Ooh, I got a lot of stuff to say.
Right. Parents don't mind the S words, fine.
I got a lot of stuff to say. So then the next album is gonna, you know, it's deeply conceptual. But this was just like a bit of fun that I wrote in New York for a day, and like, I don't know, it was like kind of I don't know, it's exciting for me to just like be able to change it up. So, you know, you've heard like me do my thing on native tongue, and then this is just like as far away from that as you can get. All right, so pop song.
I didn't really answer that question from Super Corey, but he said, who would you like to work with?
Oh, who would I like to work with? I'm going to tell you, like, I mean, because this changes every day, 5 times a day. But one of the consistent people that who I really want to sing with, and like she'll sing me under the table and out of the water, is Emma Donovan. Oh my God. The best voice in Australian music.
Mate, I'm up. I'm with that. She's, what is it? What's that sound that it hits you right through your sternum?
The tone of her voice.
It's that tone, isn't it?
So rich. It's so rich. There's so much depth to it. And it sounds like you're being held by your grandmother or something. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. Like, because there's something also about, like, it's weird to say this, but there's something also about it that's like quite sexy.
Yeah.
But it's also really comforting and really like, this sounds like, you know, there's like knowledge and there's wisdom and there's like, there is something magical about her voice.
Well, good. When you give me 2 songs to play now, because I literally go song by song, and now I've got 2 songs, yours, and now I'm going to play some Emma Donovan.
Yeah, she just dropped a new record like on Friday.
It's unreal. I've got a story. I think I might have told on radio before. I was sitting right. What's the is it the Palais down in St Kilda Beach?
Oh yeah.
And I was sitting right. I was back seat, complimentary ticket, back seat. Underneath there's a wall. There's a roof that goes really low. I was way at the back in the dark, and Emma Donovan opens the thing, and I felt like there was a surround sound speaker on my corner. I don't know, must have bounced off the corner. But I felt like I was disconnected from the whole thing because it was like lights out right at the back in the dustiest area. And I remember Emma opened her mouth and sang, and I was still rocked the whole concert. It was a benefit concert. I think the Meltdown played and Haley played and all these randoms played, or good singers. And I had to go straight up to her and go, I'm Troy. That was ridiculous. Whatever you did then, that was ridiculous. I had to tell her. I had to tell her and get it out.
She's brought me to tears many times.
She's unreal.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me this morning, MoJu. Oh, tell us, why'd you change your name?
Look,
we've got minutes. We've got time.
So the name on my birth certificate, my driver's license, everything is Mojo. My surname is Ruiz de Luzuriaga.
What is it?
Ruiz de Luzuriaga.
I love it.
That's a Spanish name because they colonized the Philippines.
Yeah.
No. But my nickname, like this is the name that my brothers call me and everything, you know, people in my life that are close to me, they all call me Juge, or Juju.
Yeah.
And so it made sense to me to be Mojo Juju for a really long time. But then I guess over the years, like I kind of sort of heard those words come up and kind of went, oh, like I wonder what, like, you know, they've both got different meanings around the world, lots of different meanings. And like in Spain, Moju's just, it's like a sauce, you know, or like
yeah.
the word Juju has got multiple meanings just within Indigenous languages, in different Indigenous languages in this country alone. But all over the world it has different meanings. But I actually came to learn that it had quite significant cultural and spiritual meaning in West Africa. And I was like, I kind of sat with it for a minute, and I was sort of, you know, in this situation with a record label and previous management like years ago where it wasn't, you know, they weren't really sure about if it was a good idea to change my name, or like, you know, I had commitments that I'd made. And so I just sort of had to wait it out a little bit, and then and it gave me time to sort of sit with that and see how I felt. So it was like a decision that I made on, and you know, there wasn't really any kind of external pressure to do it, but I just felt like I didn't want to keep performing under a name that had such significance for someone else, you know, that are in a culture that isn't my own, that might potentially offend somebody or hurt them or be misconstrued. And I was just like, it's actually it just felt like the right thing to do out of respect for someone else's culture. I was like, you know, these words mean what they mean to me, and I can justify that away. And in my personal life, I'm still Mojo, and the people who know me and love me call me Juge. They're always going to call me that. But I don't need to be on a stage or promoting music out into the world, using these things that could be interpreted as something else for someone. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to like abbreviate and contract.
Yeah.
And it's still like, it's still representative of who I am, and it still makes sense to me. And hopefully it's not too confusing for people that I've kind of shortened my name. But
people got short memories.
I don't know. I just think, you know, it felt like I also wanted to sort of, I don't know, show people, because it's I feel like a lot of people get really scared in this day and age about making mistakes, or like how, you know, and some people get defensive about things or feel entitled to do a thing. And I was just like, you know what? We can learn and we can grow, and we can do that in public if we have to. And we can handle it respectfully. And I think I was just trying to do that. I was just trying to grow and learn and, I don't know, be respectful and kind of, I don't know, I think I'm old enough now where I'm sort of like, maybe I need to be an example for like younger, you know, people out there trying to do it or whatever. It's like, it's okay to make mistakes or like to have uncomfortable moments. It's sort of just how you move through it.
We throw this around. People that are inspiring. You're pretty inspiring to talk to today, Juju. Very inspiring to talk to. Yeah, lots to unpack and think about, and I just love how unapologetic you are. And you just finished off a little bit in a respectful way, and you can notice what it might look like if you make these decisions, but you got to make them and then just just be respectful about how you handle your business, I guess. It's impressive. And
Yeah,
very
I think
encouraging. And it's an example, it is. I love it.
Thank you. I you know, it was actually pretty nerve-wracking to do, but I think I feel good about the decision that I made. So,
and you make a mistake, like, who cares? Like, and it's okay. Like, it's not like this is your last decision, your final decision on earth. This decision that you took, these decisions that you took, like, this is it, and you're set now. No one's asking you to make decisions and go, this is your last one. What are you going to do? It's like, assumingly you got time to live with it and change again if things don't work. So, keep growing. You've hopefully got a few more fans from this show, and I can't wait to see you down the streets and bump into you again and grab you for
thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's nice to hang out with you.
You too.
Happy NAIDOC.
Yeah. It's been good. You've shed a bit of light into being Indigenous, but also who Juju is.
Yeah. Cheers, man.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me.